All right. Doing it and doing it and doing it live.
Doing it live.
Live. Doing it and doing it live.
The
All
fuck?
right, happening now. That means it's happening now. I'm gonna put it on the background so you have this parallel universe
Like
So
problem.
are you gonna
happening.
are you gonna
All
do it
right.
live or what are we doing?
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the Red Eye Report, we're gonna get down and dirty in the Dust Bowl. And I'm, of course, here with the usual suspects. We got Mud Lungs Mystic,
Mud lungs.
Tumbleweed Teddy, Okie
Fuck you.
Dokie Oracle,
That's why I said okie dokie earlier.
and Cow Holocaust Ashtray. And this is the Red Eye Report.
Somebody's been playing Diablo.
Okie dokie Oracle.
All of them
Okie-dokie.
relate into.
I don't even understand that one. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Okies are part of.
I gotta say,
Muskokies?
just
Are they from
just for
Muskogee?
just for giving us
Yeah.
nicknames during the intro, that's kind of lazy. And you played it off real cool.
Yeah.
Nobody else noticed
Well,
it, but you know.
part of it too is Ashtray did his homework. He's got 4 pages of notes. You know how
Oh,
he can
God.
ramble.
Oh,
So I gotta
fuck
rush
me,
through it.
dude.
I gotta
That's
listen
why I
up.
brought a Switch. Go, baby.
The
I'm ready.
Dust Bowl lasted. It was a period of dust storms in the Great Plains region of the United States. There was a big storms in 1934, 36, and then from 39 to 1940.
No. knows.
And over time, basically, it was centered right at the panhandle of Oklahoma. Like that strip of land was just like the entire time was always in the Dust Bowl.
So it was literally just fucking so dry. Like there was no condensation or no precipitation or what?
Well,
Like,
there
I don't
was
understand.
so there was a drought.
Okay.
As I'm trying to explain,
Well,
what
you gotta
happened
get
is there was the Homesteading Act. Government was like, "Hey, we'll like give you this land if you go out there and actually farm it."
Hey.
And World War I came, right? There was like a huge need for food. And so these people went out there and planted wheat because it was super easy. And the soil, all it was buffalo grass. The thing is, though, buffalo grass had evolved over thousands of years to actually be the one grass that could handle all the winds of the Great Plains. So instead, everybody fucking goddamn buffalo grass, chilled that shit up and turned it into wheat fields. Yeah, the first, 5 to 7 years worked great. But then they just did that thing like farmers do. It's like, oh, when times are good, and it's like a really good price per crop, you make as much as you can, right? But then when the crop price goes down, well, what's your solution? Well, you just got to make more of the crop to make up for it, right? But when the price is good, you're making as much as you can anyways. It's just like, you're always going for getting as much as you can. That fucked the land up. And then there was this decade drought that basically part of it too was this is the mechanization of tills and tractors. So all this land, there's no way without tractors that all this land could have been tilled up the old-fashioned way, a fucking horse or an ox and a plow. But now gasoline tractors were cheap enough that farmers could afford them or rent them. They tore the fucking soil up, and everybody planted wheat. And I've probably heard of crop rotation. That's because you don't want to plant the same crop in the same field every year. The soil just gets drained and it doesn't get rejuvenated at all. These farmers are dumb. They didn't know that. Not so much that they were dumb, but it was actually just very easy for them to make a lot of money for little investment. They also had plenty of these, they called them suitcase farmers. They were dandies from the city, as they were called. They would show up, basically. They'd claim land through this Homesteader Act, and then they would pay someone else to actually plant the land and harvest the wheat. And so a lot of people from the city, like Chicago and stuff, they'd ride a train out, and there were even organized tours to get these rich people who got money to just buy up land and then pay some poor bastard to do it. So then, of course, the Great Depression comes, and for the first like 2 years after the stock market crash, the people living out there in the Great Plains, like they didn't really feel it because the wheat prices were still good, and they were just kind of like, oh, whatever, stupid Wall Street, not thinking it would actually affect them, but of course it did because the entire like agricultural like boom faltered with the collapse of the well, I'm drunk. Well, stock market crash.
Even
Sorry.
better.
Got derailed.
Even better.
So, anyways, we go into the Dust Bowls actually start in 1932. They would get 7,000 to 8,000 feet high up in the air. And they just picked up. So it was so dry in this soil because the buffalo grass was, it evolved over thousands of years to actually pack moisture down low. So like under about 8 to 12 inches of soil, there'd be this dense, moist land. And that was because of the root system of the buffalo grass. Well, they tore that fucking shit up. Yeah, sure, it was good land, but then when there was no rain for it, it just all turned into dust. And like you see those pictures from way back then, like these clouds would hit, and you'd be swallowed in, some like it's like a sandblasting fog, I guess. They said the static electricity would be so intense that like they would if you're going to your car, like in the winter, you get fucking shocked by your car door. They said you get shocked
I black out. Can't find it.
about 6 inches away from your car door.
It's annoying.
Damn.
That's how far the electrical shock would arc. And then also people would they would install steel chains in their car. They would literally just like have a chain that connected to the ground of their car, and they would drag it behind them during the dust storms. Like if a dust storm was coming, they would, because it would actually fry like it would fuck with the spark plugs and everything, like for as basic as old cars were back then. They had to drive with this chain to keep themselves grounded when driving through these storms. Then we had fucking tumbleweeds. Yeah, right. So tumbleweeds, which were, I think it's known as like Russian bluegrass or something like that. Anyways, fucking tumbleweeds, they'd roll along in these windstorms, and they get caught up in the fence line.
I get a laugh every time I see him in Red Dead Redemption.
And but the thing is, the tumbleweeds get caught up in the fence lines, and if you've got 100, 400 acres, it's hard to stay on top of that. But they then basically create like a mesh that the sand, when the dust storms come, it's like a snow drift to where but it's, instead of snow, it's sand. And then the farmers who weren't necessarily wheat farmers, this dust, so like they would, the drifts of sand would be like bridges for the cows. They're just like, oh, look at this shit, walking on out, and we're gonna move it on over here. And so that caused like a huge problem with not only that, is the cattle had nothing to eat.
They can eat the
and
dust.
then you got to bring up that video, the rabbit one.
Okay.
Because this shit's crazy. Like I could see how this could warp you as a kid, and these people they were interviewing kind of sounded like.
I want to see this.
Well, it's not like super graphic, but like it shows like the reality of just how
graphic.
You got to see how many rabbits. It looks like it's like a movie. Like, oh sure, they just put these rabbits all in a box or something. There's like, no, there's just that many fucking rabbits. So the jackrabbits went nuts, and because what the farmers had done, they killed all the coyotes. Well, there's no fucking coyotes. The rabbit always gets away. So look how many fucking rabbits there were. And so they came for whatever land the farmer managed to be able to grow crops on during this drought. The rabbits just came in and just ate it all because it's like, oh, fucking, food. So they would have rabbit drives, they called them, and it would be like a Sunday picnic, 50 to 100 families. Think about the number, so it's hundreds of people. Yeah. Come to a farm and they make a semicircle and they drive all the rabbits into the center of that semicircle. And then they go in with clubs and they would kill them by the thousands.
Damn.
Literally.
Oh my God.
If you watch, as this little clip goes, it will start to show the pile. And these guys are saying, like,
Christ, that's a lot of people.
You would beat...
Make war on rabbits.
You would beat, rabbits. Like, this is kind of like what the duty was like. The only way they try to do population control, here's a starting to, well, I got a delay,
Jesus,
but they literally just clubbed them until they got exhausted, and then other kids would come in, and it would be like a day-long affair.
Wow.
And this one guy was like...
Did you do your shift at the Rabbit Festival?
This one guy was interviewed, and he was like, I did it once, and that was enough for me. Like, he's like, I'm still haunted by because I've heard rabbits, do like a scream like a woman when they're hurt.
Oh my God! Can you imagine that?
Yeah. So
well, have y'all seen Us, right? When they were eating rabbits live, you can hear the rabbits screaming in the room.
Yeah.
But still.
Oh man.
Well, and, so yeah, like imagine being a kid and you're taken because you I hope they at least they should have turned them all into jerky. Right?
I was gonna say how much did they? I would have fucking sent people to start skinning them.
Well, they just showed them they were skinning them there after they were dead. You're
gonna fucking kill them.
I'm sure they made do with them. Back then, like the Depression era, they
didn't rabbit stew.
I'm sure they did. Yeah, get a meal out of them. So after the rabbit drives, we had in May 9th, there was a big fuck off dust cloud that took 350 million tons of dust across the states of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. In Chicago alone, this statistic needs a drink. 12 million pounds of dust fell in Chicago. At the time, it broke down to 4 pounds of dust for every citizen of the city of Chicago that they had to deal with. I remember my grandmother saying that there was a time where, like the Dust Bowl wasn't hitting here in Wisconsin, but you would have days where all of a sudden, like all your windowsills and stuff were covered with a certain the color of sand, and especially the states that were hit all east of the Great Plains, they could tell what based on the color of the dirt, you could tell what state it was blowing into your state. So Roosevelt was elected, because the whole country's going into the fucking Great Depression, mind you. They got all these fucking cows, and they can't even it's hard. It's barely to feed them. They're actually feeding them thistles. These kids were talking about how they had to stomp the spikes off the thistles so cows could eat them and not be hurt. And it's just a kid having to stomp thistles for a living.
Hoop and stick, I guess.
Yeah. So
they're getting beat by your fucking dad.
Yeah.
So Roosevelt would
dying of syphilis
on his little road tours. Rode around and visited the poor people, and he started a program where the government bought up the excess cattle. And it was any cattle that were good enough to be turned to meat, they were sent to slaughter, and then that was given to poor. It was a government program for poor people They just took the meat from those cows they bought. And then like the worst cows were or like ones they wouldn't like not good enough to slaughter or worth slaughtering were given like $1 a head. But what they had to do is these families in the worst affected areas, they'd have a government people would show up and they bring a bulldozer and they would bulldoze a big trench. And then they would have like some cowboys rustle the cattle up and move them towards that trench. And so they all got stuck down in this trench. And then, like a dozen guys with rifles just start taking them out like, the fucking, the Germans did. I guess this was before, the Germans might have been doing it right around the same time, 35. I don't know, or maybe certain, I can't remember. But
where do you think they got the idea?
Yeah, right. So that's why I called it a cow holocaust, because these families had to watch. The thing is, the government paid for these cattle, but then they're like, well, this is what we're doing with them. Like we're putting them all down and we're burying them. So they would just slaughter them all in these ditches, cover them. Yeah. Well, they make all of them watch, but these kids, like, where else are you gonna go in these little shanty, house, and it's a flat plains. There's nowhere to hide. It's just like it's going on outside. Around this same time too, the suicide became the new fad.
Okay. Fat means it was cool, all right.
Well,
all the socialites were doing.
I mean,
yes.
Listening to how life was at this time, it might have been.
Well, the thing is, like, you're living as a farmer, especially if you're renting, or you have a mortgage payment on this land, and you can't make any crops. This whole Homesteader Act encouraged them. Come out here, you'll make a real living. And they did for the first, 5 to 10 years. So then it's just like year after year, they couldn't make any money to even, pay their mortgage, basically. But so, yeah, suicide became the fashionable new thing to get out of the fucking desperate plight they were in. There is a story, actually, of a 13-year-old boy who was worried about that his parents wouldn't be able to afford the cost of his school books, and he committed suicide.
Wow.
And not burden them. And also, it was a lot of people who couldn't pay their loans, because a lot of these were stubborn, people who had come to New York from Europe with nothing. And the Homesteader Act was like moving these poor people out to populate these new states and this new land. They would get sick, basically they smothered in dirt. And some of these dust storms were so bad that like people would, on the way from church trying to get home, walking, they'd get lost, because sometimes you could just see like no more than 2 or 3 feet in front of you. And they wouldn't find them until the next day, and they had suffocated from dirt and then got buried. So dust masks, like today now, kind of face masks, was a bigger fashion statement than suicide. Once you sign up for that one, you don't need a mask. But the dust pneumonia basically was affecting everyone. And the kids, like out in the country, they were treated with kerosene and lard. Basically, they would.
That's some science right there.
They would take their cough syrup was just like some sugar, watered down sugar with some drops of kerosene. And they also, like instead of Vicks Vapor Rub, you know what they used?
Fucking
Turpentine.
just set them on fire. Oh,
Turpentine.
or
Turpentine on their chest.
Might as well.
Jesus.
Fucking light it up.
I mean, at least the kid got high as he's fucking.
Right?
Fixed.
No shit.
I mean,
God
him a little
damn,
buzz,
man. How the fuck did they get out of this shit?
Well, so like the families, especially the poor ones, they ended up like just having to move often. And the thing is, the problem was like there's these government programs, but this is also a lot of proud farmers who did not want to admit You know, we have that up here in the Midwest too, where it's like you don't want to admit that you need government help, so you won't. And there are a lot of families who get into fights because the man of the house, who's supposed to be the farmer and providing, did not want to take any government help, and the wife is like, "We've got kids who are starving." Problem though is back then the newspapers would actually print your name in the newspaper if you were receiving government aid.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit! Really?
Imagine the social shame. Yeah.
That'd be. I mean, why did they? Do you know why they did that, or just to be assholes? I mean.
Well, like back then, also you got to think that's like the Hearst era of newspapers, right? Like the rules weren't there weren't kind of standards back then, and I'm sure that was a way because of course
some form of shaming.
Everybody who didn't like Roosevelt were mostly like rich people, and yeah, man, when you listen to some of those speeches, you realize it's amazing how, for as amazing as Roosevelt was, with connecting with the people, he'd never be able to do it today because there's no way he could hide the fact that he's fucking crippled.
Yeah.
So, and he actually, started these programs. There was this civilian conservation corps, to try to help address this problem, because not only the states where the soil got turned into dust and there was no rain, but all the states east of them, their agriculture, their fields, even though their soil was fine, their crops would get covered in dust, suffocate, from the sun.
Hey, Minnesota, keep that shit over there, faggots.
Exactly. So they
trying to fucking grow some soybeans.
217 million trees to create windbreaks in the Great Plains. And then
that's what I thought the grass was when you first described it. How you said it held moisture. It probably also broke a wind, a slight amount.
The wind was always a factor. But the thing too was that just the way the root system was, it held density and moisture even in drought times to
right. Yeah,
so the soil didn't get so dried out and fine, because that's really all it was just so fucking dry that the dirt turned to powder.
They overcooked it, man.
Yeah,
they fucking overcooked it, bro.
They white peopled some chicken.
Oh yeah, so Roosevelt, they commissioned a documentary about what had happened, and of course it had offended all the rural people, because it basically was we overtilled the fuck out of this, and they're like, no, it wasn't us, it was just the climate. It's climate.
Blame everything
else.
So
they created let's see here. They created the Soil Conservation Service.
Sounds legit.
That's kind of like a side factor of the WPA back then, where mind you, now Roosevelt is dealing with the entire country being in the fucking shitter prior to the war economy, and so the Soil Conservation Corps, what they did is they studied different new agricultural techniques and how to make crop rotation and the best way to till soil so that it reduces so that the rainwater will just sink into the ground instead of channeling down and flooding out a valley. So they would go around and start little farms to try to teach these the farmers the new ways, and over time they did make progress, and there were actual farmers who were doing the right thing, but it'd be the farm next door would be one of those suitcase farmers. He wasn't there. He came out maybe on the weekends. He ain't doing shit, and his soil's all dry and it's blowing over on my farm where I finally got something to grow. They actually started there was this paradox. These farmers who don't want any government help, right? They're all of a sudden we need to do fucking martial law and shut these people down and take their fields, and fix this problem. So they kind of had almost those privileges. They started these soil conservation districts where, in these sectors, and kind of on consensus of what they were going to grow in the local area, well, like the farmers who are connected to it, they basically as a group, oh God, is that socialist? They decided how they were going to deal with the land, and they would actually either find or just the government would outright take the land from people who were suitcase farmers. So they invested a lot, in the land. The government bought a lot of land back, and they would just do these programs where they replanted the original buffalo grass. To get the soil to hold, and eventually by 1940, the drought, because it definitely was affected by the weather. I mean, the farmers weren't wrong in that, but they also were farming in a very kind of easy, greedy way to make the most money with the least amount of investment, and then they just ended up fucking themselves. It ended up that once the drought finally ended, and with these government programs, they that's I guess what ended the Dust Bowl. The dust storms just finally stopped as the more and more fields they were able to reduce it significantly with these programs. But 30 to 40% of the population in these areas all moved. There's just there's nothing we can do. Especially if you're running out on debt. And this is where the Grapes of Wrath came from, novel. Was all these people traveling to California. And they say it was actually it's one of the biggest folk migrations in U.S. history, yet it's not revered like the Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail is a minute number of people compared to how many people traveled. Because it was in the Depression era, it's no one wants to talk about it. Everybody was ashamed. But these are what were termed Okies, like Okie from Muskogee, were all these people who landed in California. And they had instead of Hoovervilles, there were Okievilles. And they could tell if you were someone from the Plains area with your accent and stuff, that there were actually even signs that said Okies and niggers upstairs only.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, they looked there with the black folk. They must have hated the motherfuckers.
Oh yeah. They
damn. Yeah. You just want to say niggas on air. That's all. It's fine. You good.
In context.
It's the only reason. It's the only reason Quentin Tarantino makes movies. Okay?
Right.
So just so you can say nigga 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they ended up so the Grapes of Wrath came from Steinbeck. He wasn't actually following it. He kind of he took the stories from this one reporter who was following these, and she kind of sucked for her because she Steinbeck came out with his book. She shared some of her stories with him, and he also went down. He did go down himself and spend the day interviewing and meeting all these people in these Okievilles. And he got outraged, and he even said I'm gonna blow the lid off this fucking place. And so before the woman reporter who invited him out there, she didn't have her her book ready before Steinbeck pounded out the Grapes of Wrath, and bam, it got published already. And so all the publishers were we can't have two books about the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. Nope, there isn't room for it. So she didn't get her book published till 2004.
2004.
A year or two before her death.
Do you think it could also be because she was a woman? Also.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure that's
Definitely.
A factor in it.
Was she still alive in 2004?
It was a couple years before her death. Literally, wow. She's an old fucking lady.
Wow.
She'd written other stuff too, don't mind you. She had, that. She was a reporter and an author. So it just ended up that manuscript and all that work, that firsthand experience, had to be put on the shelf because no publisher wanted to compete with the Grapes of Wrath.
I ain't touching that shit, bitch.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, and that kind of like, and then, yeah, all these Okies got, kicked, or they sent out to California, and then it kind of, the Dust Bowl ends when the drought stopped, and then, these Okievilles and stuff went away once the war.
So with all this dust around, when it finally did start raining, did they have problems with mudslides or anything like that, or was a problem with?
There was, it doesn't say. Part of it too, though, was like a lot of work was done before they got back to any like real sustainable rains. So because of the government effort. So I didn't say too much about like mudslides, but the only thing of mud I remember was the mud lung, they called it, was like, because when they would cough with their dust ammonia, it instead of like green phlegm, it'd be brown mud phlegm.
Yeah,
tasty.
Yep, nasty. Yep. So that's a fucking Dust Bowl.
Boom.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, that shit was...
Look at that ashtray. Kept it in 33 minutes.
I know, right? That shit was fucking like the toilet went along for like 45 minutes. It was torture.
That was actually like professional.
That's what happens when you do your homework, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to move along to our What's Sexy Oracle. Pluto TV. Oh, I think I know what this is.
Got the new TV. So I've been kind of checking some new shit out, and I don't have cable. I've been watching some more shows like on Netflix, but this TV has integrated apps in it. It's got Android TV, and I was just fucking around with it because it's got like Spotify on there, and all my Hulu, Prime, shit like that, and one of them, like a popular app, was this thing called Pluto TV. So I'm like, I feel like I've heard of this before. What the fuck is this? So I open it up, and it's basically like if you had cable TV from like 1985 to 2001.
Yeah, kind of.
And it's fucking awesome. Like, I've been watching American Gladiators.
It's all free.
Yeah, it's all fucking free. It's got TV commercials just like, but way less TV commercials than Hulu has.
Normal. Yeah.
Like, fucking Hulu is ridiculous with commercials.
Yeah, I pay for it, so I don't have the commercials.
Yeah, it's fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
But it's just like regular fucking terrible ass,
well, yeah, and their commercial breaks cut like exactly where you were watching. Like, I've noticed, anyways, they do like a little backup.
Yeah.
So it isn't like, even though it does interrupt, you don't feel lost, I guess.
Yeah.
If it happens mid-scene.
I mean, it's not
sometimes
that
it's not always like a proper, scene break.
But for a free fucking service, I mean, there's a shit ton of channels, and they have fucking. I was watching kickboxing the other night. They've got like all kinds of sports channels. Fucking tons of trash ass reality TV shows.
Fail Army has a channel on there.
They've got like fucking movie channels, like a lot of older movies and stuff like that. But if you're somebody that, like, for me, that's the type of TV show that I want to watch. I don't give a fuck about like whatever's hot. Like, the thing if I want to watch something, if I want to watch Ozark or whatever, I'm going to watch that on Netflix. But in terms of like, hey, I just want to see what's on TV, give me some trash ass TV like that. Give me some fucking weird, documentary.
And have it on in the background while you're working on
Yeah, I'm not that fucking invested.
Yeah, because you can't choose it. It's still like every channel is kind of live on its own.
It's live on its own. They do have like an on-demand thing, but I think that's pretty limited compared. And honestly, I like live television way more than on-demand.
Just like scrolling through it.
Yeah, just scrolling through it, be like, oh, what the fuck is this? Watch the Addams Family.
Right. They have
for 5
a
minutes.
Riff Tracks channel as part of Pluto.
So it's free. it's surprisingly really fucking good for a free service, free app. So check it out, Pluto TV. I'm sure you could get the app on your phone. Otherwise, if you have, they probably have a website or whatever. Otherwise, if your TV has apps and shit, you can download it on there.
You remember when I sent you pictures? I'm like, what the fuck? When was this movie? Christina Ricci, like as a dead woman, and Liam Neeson was like the mortuary guy, who the embalmer who like could talk to dead people. And I just like no idea about this movie. But yeah, it was on that Pluto TV, like one of their horror channels. Like, oh, there's naked Christina Ricci. So I love it's uncensored too.
That's always a treat.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
All right, moving along. Mystic, Hot Ones.
Ashtray, yeah. So anyway, this show is it's been around for about 5 years. It says it's had 11 seasons, but I think it's like, fucking they do 8 episodes in the fall and 8 in the spring. But anyway, it's basically just celebrities come on here and eat hot wings. There's 10 hot wings, each with an increasing amount of heat. So it starts off with like your basic, mild wing or whatever, at right around 1600 Scoville. Huh?
I was like, haven't you done this as a What's Sexy before?
No, I don't think so. But it's been around forever, probably. But I've never seen it before, and I just fucking...
Really? No shit.
Yeah.
You didn't know about this before? I thought it was just like maybe a memorable episode.
No. I've only seen like 4 or 5, but they're funny as fuck. And they seem really good because the questions are actually really in depth. They're not just like fucking, like, hey, fucking, I want to suck your dick about your new movie, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, yeah, dude.
He gets a lot of big name people.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it is kind of surprising, like how many big name guys he can get on.
I wonder what he started with.
Will Smith, Tenacious D. He had a fucking Charlize Theron and fucking Seth Rogen on there.
Well, yeah. Episode. That's the thing is like
Paul Rudd.
It's kind of like it's part of the culture right now. Only because it's like late night makes jokes referencing Hot Ones.
I don't watch anything like that though.
Well, yeah, that's your problem.
I'm stuck in Trailer Park, boy. I'm stuck in Sunnyvale Trailer Park.
Right.
And I don't care about their fucking culture. I just think it's a good fucking show to watch.
Gotta have your pulse on it, right? Motherfucker. All of a sudden, you're this guy talking about Hot Ones.
Fuck them assholes. I don't give a fuck, dude.
I know you don't give a fuck, but I'm going to tell you why I thought.
They got a fucking... Anyway, they have a game show coming out, too, on True TV. You can watch the first 4 episodes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like 2 teams of 2 people. And you fucking... And it's just like the, he asks you questions, like trivia questions.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because if it's just like eating shit, like...
No, it's like you have to answer trivia questions, like, with increasing heat and these fucking things. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried super hot wings.
No.
God, yeah. The
hottest I've ever tried is probably around 400,000 on the Scoville.
400,000.
Yeah. But the ones that they're eating, like the hottest one they eat on Hot Ones is 2 million.
2 million?
Yeah.
There's at my job, this guy brought a concentrate of 1 million Scoville fucking shit. And I like spicy food. I don't mind. So he bought it because his brother, every time he takes food home, his brother eats it. So he's gonna spike it with his 1 million Scoville shit. So they fucking
awesome.
And so, but they were these guys, the guys who bought it and shit. The guy who bought it and the other people that work with me, they don't like spicy food, so they just hit the toothpick in it, and it was too much for them. So they made some salsa and they spiked it with a few drops of that shit. And they gave it, and they gave it to people in the restaurant. I didn't know about it until they gave it to the restaurant. Right, and everybody, and it went out with the employees and shit, and everybody was freaking out. I'm like, it's good, it's spicy, but it's good. But
I mean, yeah. So basically, if you water it down in a big thing of salsa, it's probably a good, like.
Right. It's actually
That's the problem. Is like, that shit. I don't even know what the
Scovilles. I mean, fuck that. That's fucked up.
Whatever that term is. I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that
it's
you would eat something
a jalapeno is 10,000 Scovilles.
Well, I mean, I know
Jalapenos
Yeah.
get $10 Scoville's there, so that's how you
my
base off.
my brother loves eating hot stuff, and my grandfather too. I mean, he raised us that way of eating hot shit. But it's almost kind of where it's like my brother and my grandpa too, to be honest. It's like where you wonder, it's like, are you just showing off, or do you really like it this fucking hot? Like,
No,
I
no.
was raising my father's gumbo. It had to make a man out of you.
like
See,
I love it.
It hurts
spicy,
coming
like,
out
don't get me
6
wrong.
times more than it does
I
going
love
in.
having that kind of like nose drip. I get 3
I
stars.
hate that. That's too much.
Yeah, the nose drip is too much. Yeah, it's
I
too
get
much.
3 stars for my my Thai food. But some of those hot sauces is just like,
Well, yeah, and the Trevor
tongue fell
Noah,
off.
he did. Trevor Noah did one, and that's you could tell that man grew up eating some spicy ass South African food
Yeah.
because he was like 7 or 8 in, and he was like, "Yeah, that's good. Like you can really accents the chicken. Like he's not even really hitting him and shit. Like the last 2 or 3 really did, but like before that, he was just like, yeah, he didn't drink anything. Fucking rarefied air. Didn't have anything to drink the whole fucking time. Anyway, that's whatever. It's just a cool show. Fuck all you assholes.
What sexy Teddy Grant?
So on History Channel, they have a 3-part docuseries on Ulysses S. Grant. It starts off from when he was a kid to for when he going to be president and everything else. This was I haven't seen the first one. I watched part 2 and 3 because I didn't really give a shit about it growing up.
And you don't think alcoholics can achieve something?
Well, he did. He
They
stopped
were
drinking.
all alcoholics
He stopped drinking
back
when he was
then,
when he got back in the army. But it was extremely informative. I like docuseries anyway, and it was
This is on the
like,
History Channel.
on the History Channel. So if you have well, you don't have cable, so I don't know how you're gonna watch it. Maybe go to the internet or something.
Hey, if it is on Pluto TV, it doesn't exist to me. Dude.
I mean, it's very, very informative. Like one of the coolest things I learned from it was that after the war and when they were doing Reconstruction and everything else, he a lot of the black they're trying to figure out what to do with the 4 million slaves that were freed. The men got to vote, and in the South, in that first year of voting in the South, a lot of black people were voted into the state Congress and sent to fucking National Congress. And that's when the Klan kind of started developing and everything else and fucking with the niggas. And he actually he quelled the first Klan thing. He sent the army down to declare martial law and fucking and took care of them motherfuckers.
Root them boys out.
Yeah, root them boys out. So I mean, it was very informative. I mean, the some of the battle tactics, some of the things he did in the battle were awesome. Like he never fucking retreated. It was crazy. This motherfucking like yeah, we're not running.
That's pretty dumb. I mean, I get that like he was lucky, but if he had never retreated and he died the first fucking time, nobody would ever know anything about it. You know what I mean?
That.
Like there's just
I get that, but we're watching. But now we're watching a docu-series about 200.
Also, too, like
so
that, I'm sure. You compare it to like the Ken Burns one, like I'm sure there's some parts where it's like the army had to fucking retreat because the Confederates had whooped the Union's asses.
Right. Lee was fucking people up, but that was on the eastern theater. He was on the western at first. Grant was on the western theater fucking people up, and then he moved to the eastern theater and he started confronting Lee. And they did battles. Him and Lee did battles to where they didn't. It was a stalemate for a few days, and usually when it was a stalemate a few days, one of the armies was like, okay, fuck it, we're gonna move on and go somewhere else. But he didn't do that. He kept going south.
So is this a small or like just a couple episodes or is it
3 episodes?
Okay,
3 episodes, about 2 hours long. It's like when they signed when they went to sign the fucking the surrender at Appomattox. Grant had an American Indian on his fucking as part of his generals or whatever, and he had the Native American write up the fucking shit in front of Lee because he knew he's a racist fuck.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's funny is that house. There's something to do like the guy who owned that house where they decided to do the surrender. He owned a piece of property in some other state that, like during one of the first exchanges, they're having a war right on his farm property. And he's like, fuck this shit, and decides to move. And then it was kind of like he was at the very forefront of the war, and then they also decided to have his house
probably
be the
like,
end of it. Yeah,
Jesus Christ! Why did I have to fucking go?
exactly.
Fucking just pissed off.
So, if
Moving
you
to
like
fucking Canada.
Right. All right, gonna move along.
I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was. Okay, don't cut me off again, bitch. Yes. Okay, now I'm done. Right.
All right. Moving along to myself. Twitter drops a little hint on Baby Trump, where
that is great.
He puts this, stuff out about Joe Scarborough possibly being involved in. Was it one of his aides that she had like a heart thing? And well, what this part started was Joe Scarborough, the host of Morning Joe, was, I can't remember, a congressman or a senator at the time, and he wasn't even there in the area. Like, he was in D.C. and she was back at like his home state office or something. She had some she had like a heart attack, or something like that, to where she passed out, and she wanged her head so hard she died.
Wanged her head?
Well, like when you hit the countertop, what you say,
wang,
banged her head. Then depends on how deep the gash is, whether it's
a wicked bang
or a wang.
Wicked bang.
Wicked bang.
Right, that's what you tell the emergency room.
The fucking head right on that fucking step right there.
That's what you tell the emergency room when your spouse is looking you in the eyes. Just a real bad wang. I just
fell, bitch.
she fell down. She fell down some stairs.
She must have forgot, but she fell down some stairs.
But it's also so, and fuck.
Wait, what does he say he did? I've heard about this. Like, what does he say, Joe Scarborough? Is he saying he killed the bitch, or
he's basically just saying that, like, doesn't somebody find that suspicious that she just happened to have a heart attack and fall? Like, maybe he's involved. He's just like, he's throwing stupid dirt at Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough wasn't even there. And the spouse of this dead aide was like making a public plea to Twitter to please take down the president's tweets. But Twitter's in this position where it's like, if the president, it's also, like, you'd never take a president's tweet down in the sense, because like everything a president says should be made document. Like, that's law, I think, part of the Constitution or something. But they've never before, like, put a footnote to be like, hey, do you want to find out real information on shit? Because, this motherfucker's just throwing out real fucking slander.
Yeah.
And so they put footnotes. And then Zuckerberg, he's like, oh, I don't agree with Twitter's response because I don't own them. And that, Facebook doesn't want to be the arbiters of truth. And the CEO of Twitter was like, we're not trying to be the arbiters of truth. That's why we put this link of, like, here is what the fact checkers say. We didn't take his tweet down. And Trump's like, it's censorship, blah, blah, blah. His tweet's still there. They put a footnote. And boy.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
absolutely fucking flag somebody's post and prevent it from being posted.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, but then they basically, it's like Zuckerberg must have some, he must have some.
Probably getting paid by some Russian oligarchs.
Right? Or he's got a foot in the door through the Trump agency. Wasn't there some secret meeting where he had dinner with Trump or something?
I don't fucking know.
All right. Anyways, moving along.
It doesn't matter
if
his tweet was taken down or not. His people are so dug in. Jesus Christ.
Right.
God could come down.
It's just another thing he can cry about.
Jesus
and he's
Christ
now made some executive
Twitter
order.
did that to troll a narcissist. That was the only reason. And I think it's fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Moving along. Fuck what you think. Oracle, HDR.
Moving along.
What's HDR?
HDR is high dynamic range or something. It has to do with the fucking lighting. My
Our
fuck
TVs
what
do
you
it.
think with this is HDR can look fantastic. It can look
It
amazing.
looks better than HDR10.
This is a
Yeah.
game graphic.
HDR10. So it's
right?
a setting that a TV has.
TV has.
Oh, it's on your TV.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on your TV. So right now, the only systems that can do it are the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. And when it's done right, it looks phenomenal. It is a more lifelike lighting, and it really, when you turn on standard def in the game and you look at that, you're just like, yeah, we're gonna be doing the HDR.
Yeah.
But for some reason, some games haven't like figured out how to fucking use it properly. And shit is like all wonked out and fucked up, and it's like, okay, you motherfuckers have got you've had like 5 years to figure this out. Get your shit together. Like fucking standardize your shit. So this game doesn't, this game will look brilliant. It'll look fucking amazing, and then you play another game like Red Dead for a long time had fucked up HDR. Red Dead Redemption 2. They got a lot of fucking shit for that. And this game, is like a washed out piece of shit. What the fuck?
I've learned that it has to do with publishers. Like all the Ubisoft games, all the newer Assassin's Creeds, from Origins on up, and they use it, and it seems to do with publishers. And the games.
Some people have fucking got it, and it looks fantastic. Like I'm playing Last of Us, the remaster, which came out
that game is fucking creepy.
5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. The original came out like 10 years ago, and the fucking HDR looks fantastic. It's gorgeous, and then you can play another game. And it's just like, what the fuck is this shit? And you're having to do like all this crazy shit with settings and stuff.
Oh man, you love doing that though.
That's my jam, man. It is my jam. It is my addiction to fuck with settings. But then
you're like, damn, my addiction is not letting me play the game.
Do you punch anybody who tries to touch your radio in your car? The fuck are you thinking, bro?
Yeah, I'd love to turn your balance right all the way over to the right.
Fucking touch the dial. I will fucking drive us off a cliff and fucking kill both of us. You touch that fucking dial. My worry, I just hope that with these new systems, they have a fucking standardized thing, because that's the thing. This is the problem. This is the reason why this is a problem in my brain, because I know how good this shit can look. So until I get it to look that good, I need to fuck with the settings. I have fucking documents with individualized settings for fucking different fucking
shit.
And you fuck with me for having magic cards. Really?
Yeah, that's pretty fucking nerdy.
So
well, the thing is, like color correction and stuff like that.
My god,
screen is so it's a science.
Well, you have an Xbox One X, right? Oracle?
Yeah.
Do you have the Bugs game on yours? The Bugs. The Xbox One X, it came with it has a game, but it's like an app or a little thing where it's bugs in a flower field, ladybugs, other kind of bugs, and you can zoom in, zoom out, and you can if you should download it. It's actually pretty cool. You can turn, it'll show you what it looks like, HDR off, HDR on, and shit, and different kind of lighting dynamics on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a little video loop that plays around, and you can fuck around with it, you can zoom in and stuff with the flowers, and it's really cool when you're really high.
Yeah, I mean.
Just to see the resolution difference on the screen like that.
Because the new system, HDR is great, but that's going to be the next level when they do the ray tracing shit. Because that's where the light is.
What's the new level? What's
ray tracing?
Ray tracing is realistic lighting. And it's fucking crazy.
You seen it?
But
you need a TV that can support it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
But...
Damn.
No.
Well, no, you don't need a
little 7-inch Trini Trizzle.
You just need a fucking a system. You're gonna want something that is HDR capable. So you're going to want a 4K
but your
TV.
TV has to be HDR capable too. Is what he's asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need your
4K.
hardware and your TV has to match what your video game hardware can put out.
You're going to want a 4K HDR TV for the new systems. Absolutely. Because
the TV you have, I'm actually getting that downstairs in my.
Aren't they doing 8Ks now?
Well, these systems are actually capable of doing 8K, even though.
But no games
No,
they're not going to fucking do it.
Which is kind of Well,
do you remember it was like it's artificial 180p.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's like when the Xbox 360 came out, the hardware was actually so advanced that none of the developers could keep up with or max out the system or console. And it's the same way with the new one coming out. They say it's 8K, but nobody's even making or anywhere near making 8K games.
Those games are fucking massive.
Good for them. Give them something to work for. All right, moving along.
I'm getting 2 or 3 years
out. Moving along.
Hey, fuck you. You get to talk all the goddamn time. Shut the fuck up.
It's my episode. Mystic Trump's Twitter divorce.
Hoop and stick.
So, I think it's funny that a day after they started fucking putting up little cliff notes on his tweets, that all of a sudden he has an executive order. I don't even know what the executive order did. It doesn't matter. I don't think he knows or cares what it did. It's all an optics thing. He has to be the tough guy that regulated Twitter because they were fucking censoring conservatives. Yeah, conservative rally cry.
Isn't it like an investigation? Like, we're going to investigate you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. His people are so goddamn stupid. Like Jesus, God, like I said, God can come down and run for president, which he's probably his running mate, and they would still vote for Trump. All right, these people are
I know.
This, by the way.
I get it. I just think it's fun to watch. Sit back and watch. Like, we're witnessing. Watch. Yes, it is. We're witnessing the unraveling of a human being in front of us.
Right. No. But you're also witnessing the unraveling of a country that is backing this country. This crazy motherfucker.
We're all dead anyway.
But if you keep your lens just on him, it is hilarious.
It is. It's super fucking funny.
Because it's like
but you're living
in orange blonde 78-year-old clown.
He had
runs the fucking biggest military
in
the world. You can't write that. That's Comedy Central.
That would be pretty amazing if he did dress up like a clown.
He walked right into he got a golden goose with the economy and stuff when he won office.
Yeah.
You know, he was like riding on that shit for 3 years now. It's about time.
Oh, and when he starts doing his rallies for being reelected, which they're gonna tell him not their whole rallies because of COVID, but he's still gonna do it because of God and shit. He's still gonna be talking about the goddamn wall, all right? And that's
gonna do it. I'm gonna sit back and watch him die too.
Needs to make a COVID wall.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. Ashtray, sexy fantasy gone wrong. Actually, wrong address. So this is in Australia.
I told you about using Grindr, bro.
A man in Australia, woke up 6 a.m, go use the bathroom, and he heard a noise in his kitchen or whatever. Noticed the light on, and he figured it was. I guess he just has friends who sometimes drunkenly come over and pass out in his property. And he's like, "Fuck off! It's too early." And then a stranger's voice was like, "Are you Kevin?" And the guy was like, "What?" And he had his sleep apnea mask on. He had to rip it off, and he wakes up to 2 men around his bed, standing around him holding machetes.
What the fuck?
Right? And they say, "What's your name?"
I'm not Kevin, bro. Not Kevin.
What's your name? And he told them they're not even sharing what his real name was, but "Are you sure you're not Kevin?" And we were told to come pick up Kevin. And the man's like, no, I'm not Kevin. And then they no one named Kevin lived at the address. Let's see here. So the men were just like, well, sorry, mate. Bye. And so this guy must have reported him or something, they didn't do anything to him. But turns out it was the guy, it was this random Craigslist kind of for $5,000 these 2 guys agreed to tie up this man that they had never met on the internet, and they were gonna rub his underwear with a broom, like tie him up and rub his underwear with a broom. And the problem was they had the address wrong. Like the guy who like made this deal.
Why do they have machetes then?
Yeah, what the fuck does machetes have to do with this?
Yeah,
that's the part. It's like so. Yeah, they're. Let's see here. What did they say?
Explain that shit to the cops.
They say here, the defense, they carried machetes either as props or something to use in a fantasy. The fantasy was unscripted, and there was discretion. There was discretion as to how it would be carried out. They basically, what this is, the court found them not guilty because, like, basically they were trying to be faced with a crime for getting the wrong address, like because they didn't. And that's the thing is like basically the machetes were kind of like what they picked like on the fly to like, well, we're supposed to come over and tie this person up like it's that's why the door was unlocked like they thought because
$5,000 to fucking have somebody rub your
this guy
with a broom.
Yeah, what the fuck?
The sexual role
Where
play,
was this?
Australia.
Oh.
And the court though found that they were not guilty. And the judge even said they were very polite to the victim.
they had the ghost of Johnny Cochran as their lawyer.
Yeah. So they ended up having the wrong address. I don't know if he ever actually got to the right address, if they like went right from there and just like and then went to the right address and did it, That'd be awesome if that's how it played out. That's my fucking you think. Gonna move along to Teddy.
That is the weirdest story I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking story.
Can you imagine waking up? I would fucking piss myself.
Fucking murder them.
Yeah. He's got his gun on him right now.
He's lucky he didn't have a gun.
And he's at home doing a show. Where's your gun at? Where's your gun at? Where's your gun at?
No, for real though, they're lucky that somebody didn't.
I mean, really, why do you need to have it on right now? You motherfucker. See, This is the problem. White people with fucking guns.
Right, they have them and
Concealed
they forget to have them on them.
I get it. You're at home right now. You set your gun on your hip.
But what if?
I don't know if fucking dudes with machetes are gonna come in here with a fucking broom.
Exactly,
How
man.
many break-ins do you have at you in that area that you live in that tiny white surrounded community? None, goddammit.
It's like a tool you want to make sure you have when you need it because you need it right away.
Dude, whatever.
Every time you do.
Whatever. Let's keep it going.
And since it's COVID shit, I've had mine out of the case and loaded.
Teddy's jealous.
I'm not jealous.
Yeah.
I'm just upset at the fact that I feel like I have to get a gun because so many crazy fucking white people around me have a gun.
All right.
I mean, really, like I don't get it.
The American way.
White people, man, we're the worst.
You have to admit
Y'all are the
it
worst.
is the American way, unfortunately. People want to get rid of guns, but it's never going to happen.
At least I'm on the winning side of something.
If you don't like it, you can move out. All right, moving along. Teddy. God damn it, Karen.
Yeah, more white crack and shit. All right, so this chick, I'm pretty sure y'all seen the video. It went viral. This chick, she had a dog in the park in a part of the Central Park where dogs are supposed to be on a leash because people bird watch and the dogs scare the birds away and everything else. A brother who sounds whiter than I do, fucking asked her to put her dog on a leash. She finally did it. He was videotaping her, and because he would not stop videotaping her, this bitch called the cops and said that he was threatening her life and her dog's life. And then she put a little extra shit on it at the end and started crying more and said, "Please come."
I her dog the whole time too.
I mean, really, the dog says her dog has been taken away. Somebody identified her. She's been fired. I get that, but this bitch needs to be arrested. The NYPD kill niggas every day, and if they had taken that call seriously, any nigga coming out of that park would have been fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And they arrested Jesse Smollett for faking, for saying he got beat up. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, this bitch she didn't just put his life in danger. She put a lot of niggas in New York's life in danger, and this bitch needs to be arrested because that is some fucked up shit.
Juicy Smollett.
Yeah, Juicy. Juicy.
What happened with that guy? This situation probably still pending.
Yeah, no, they gonna put that nigga in jail.
The better.
For wasting that time. But yeah, she didn't just put his life in danger. She put a lot of other motherfuckers in danger.
Yeah,
and for that,
I read an article. It was actually 2 former dog walkers of hers. That's how they found out who she was, because It went viral, and they live at these 2 different dog walkers who actually like knew each other. I don't know if they have some dog walker, commune, but they were like, "Yep, we've worked for her before," and they decided like, they said like she wasn't a terrible customer, but there was always something off with her, and they're like, "We can't just like let this go by. Like you can't just say this shit without paying the consequences." So yeah, I guess wherever she adopted it from 2 years
wherever
prior,
she adopted it from took the dog. Yeah, they taught her, because a lot of people
surrendered it.
Here's another thing. More people had a problem with the way she was holding the dog back because the dog didn't want to move. She see like it's kind of like sat on dog or squat on dog, whatever. More people had a problem with that than the fact that she called the cops and told her that a black man was threatening her life.
Yep.
When he was just sitting there. And I mean that shit blows my goddamn mind.
Yeah. Got to send
Right.
out
Yeah,
like
guy with the
beatdowns
bicycle
squad.
helmet.
Crazy crackers just walking around with guns and they want me. Fuck that.
Guy
Man.
with a bicycle helmet, a black guy with a bicycle helmet.
I mean, really?
Do
you wonder why I'm worried? Fuck that.
How non-threatening do you have to get? He's got dog treats with him. Come on. Actually, I loved his reasoning for carrying dog treats is because you're not supposed to have a dog off leash in this area where the ground-dwelling birds can have nests. And he said he always carries treats because if people come around without a leash dog, what he does is he pulls out a treat to feed the dog. And he's like, people then are like, "Oh, don't feed my dog." And then they put their leash on their dogs. Their dog doesn't go up to strangers.
Don't feed my dog. Yeah, I'm gonna give him. I'd sit there and just coat every fucking treat I had and just shit ton of chocolate. Just shit ton of chocolate.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Put some razor
Look, you can't. Not. I mean, you gotta do razor blades. You gotta suffer. I mean, you just can't. Let me just shank processed chocolate. He dies.
Oh yeah, she's gonna have to change. Like she's gonna be someone. There's a number of those people who've had their lives wrecked because they did something fucking completely stupid and asinine and wrong, and it went viral. But she's gonna have to change her fucking name.
I mean, the fact that she, people know her name and shit, but there's
Did
a lot of
you hear
bitches
also
with
the
that name.
history that she had sued a former coworker?
Wow.
No, I don't care about that. But the fact that she had a mask on her face, the fact that she had a mask on her face, you can only see her eyes, is going to help her a lot.
I know as a black man you don't care about this, but this also goes to show part of the character's past is that she sued her former coworker, saying that he was her ex-lover, married ex-lover.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what happened.
Money. It was all fraud. I know. It just paints her as an even more person to
That's the same thing like saying when the cops shoot a black dude, like, yeah, but 2 weeks ago he got caught with weed on him. That doesn't matter with what happened. So I don't see why that even should be relevant.
Wonder what Fat Mary's up to.
Bitch is crazy. I wonder what Fat Mary's up to, especially in these hard times.
Are we done? Are we just
I
bitching
think that's
at each other
about it.
here? What are we doing?
So,
Jesus Christ, go play Red Dead. God damn it. God
damn
it.
yourself, Mitch McConnell's turkey neck.
You didn't look at the name for it?
Yeah, we're going to be here every Thursday night, maybe Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Central. Make sure you join the conversation at theredeyereport.com or facebook.com/redeyereport. You can also twiddle us, but I don't think there's anything happens when you do that now. Like us, share us, or fuck us because we're down for whatever.
We've definitely got cliff notes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Did you say your name? I missed
No,
it.
he didn't.
I am the Ashtray you talked over.
I'm Oracle.
I already did it.
I'm
Get going. Dick fucks.
Fuck you, man.
Did you just say dick fucks?
Yeah, he didn't say dick fucks. He didn't say dick fucks.
The fuck?
Well, I might be on a PlayStation tonight.
Do what I want.
You do what you want.
I said it.
Do what I want when I want.
I said what I said. Fight me.
Damn. All right. Did everybody say their names? Are we done?
God damn it. This is the Red Eye Report. You
I don't know, man.
Wow,
Jesus
amazing.
Christ. Jesus fucking
Get out of
Christ.
here.
Success is relative when everyone's drunk.
Yep. Ashtray needs to calm down.
You need to stop drinking and doing drugs, which they do.